Hey kid, you want to know what it's like to row a dory in the Grand Canyon?
You're looking for that decisive moment. What is that? When do you click that shutter when the person's leaping? What is that peak moment, that peak storytelling action?
Dana Romanoff is a Colorado-based documentary and commercial director and a mother who fuses powerful human storytelling with eye-catching visuals. She began as an outdoor guide, then worked as a photojournalist for major outlets including National Geographic magazine, the New York Times, and more. Today, she's making documentary films and also bringing that same cinematic eye to big commercial work, directing campaigns for Google, Meta, UPS, and Budweiser. And her latest film is one of the reasons why we're talking to her, About Damn Time, celebrates Grand Canyon Dory women while drawing attention to Colorado River conservation. How'd I do?
Did I write that? Did you write that? That's pretty good.
Well, some of it was on your website. I also know you
It
for
sounded familiar. Oh, you did great. Thank you
yeah.
for having me.
So we have a lot of stuff we could talk about, but maybe we just start with the film because it's gorgeous. Dave and I watched it recently, and you know, the visuals and the people and everything. Such a beautiful place. How did this come about?
It came about because Oars had an idea. Oars is the whitewater rafting and venture company, and they had an idea to tell a story about the female Dory guides, specifically Sindel Dale. There's been a lot of media that has been out there about men in the Grand Canyon, including the book, incredible novel, The Emerald Mile. But a lot of the media that they had done and that's out there is about the men in the Grand Canyon. And so they wanted to do something about Sindel, who's one of the kind of the at the tail end of like that first generation of female Dory guides. But we can get into that story. And so they first approached her, what do you think if we tell a story, tell your story and tell the story of women in the Grand Canyon? And she said, well, can I curse on this?
Yeah, of course.
She said, it's about damn fucking time or something like that. So then they came to me and approached me and I think a few other directors. They had seen my work before and I wanted the story and I really wanted to tell it. And so, when they told me that story, I was like, well, there's your, remove the F-bomb and there's your title.
I love it.
But yeah, so they, of course, commissioned it. Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. And I wonder, I mean, we have a lot of, I'm curious. So you said that you were bidding for this project, so that you were going up against other directors. So what was that process like? Did you put together a pitch deck? Like talk, we have a lot of audience members who are kind of new to this and maybe don't pitch a lot. So I'm just curious, like how you went about it.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I knew I was up against some others and I knew I wanted this job. I can, talk to you about my own personal passions and why I wanted it. But I then was also working as a commercial director with Step Studios. And so I thought it would be great to pair up with them, even though Oars came to me, but to bring them in as a production company and a production partner. Oars initially came, I'll just say, with, a lump sum of money that for them was a decent amount, a good investment. But in the reality and storytelling, we all know it's to do it well
nobody's getting rich off this, right?
Yeah, and especially 17 days down in the Grand Canyon. And
wow, yeah.
So I just knew, and when they initially came to me, sorry, Dave, I'm not answering your exact question.
No, you're good. I'll take it. I'll take whatever you give me.
It all comes in a circle. When they initially came, they had that lump sum of money, and I think they had the vision that it would be me as the, what do they call them, the predator, like the shooter, the editor,
the producer,
producer, and they were just gonna have a second spot for maybe one of their internal people to come along and assist me. And I just knew the story deserved more. It's such a cool story, and so I really wanted to push for it to have and they just figured it would live on their website and on YouTube, go out in their newsletters, and that's it. And I just knew it deserved more resources and to get, to try and get more eyeballs on it and to have it be broader out there in the world. So that's when I brought in Step Studios to see if, just going in with a production company, had a great relationship with them for many years, that they could add more resources to help make it into a bigger project. And then also did a little bit of fundraising. So so the pitch process, knowing I was up against, not knowing who, but knowing I was up against a couple other directors, it was just a smaller one. For commercials, I'll do, I'm in the middle of doing a much bigger treatment. This was a smaller one. We just did it on Google Slides, kind of, visual boards and about who I am, why this project is personally, of interest to me, who Stepped is, what they can bring to it, and a little bit about my approach. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so you said 17 days in the canyon on the river? Or was that 17 days part of that, like pre-pro scouting, or like, is that just you get down there and go?
So again, why it could be the budget that it was and what Ors had in mind was these are commercial trips that are already existing, right? So this wasn't a set commercial trip. So there was 16 guests already filling these spots. And on these commercial trips, they have the guides. You have the baggage boat rowers, which are kind of like guides in training. They're still guides, but they're not as maybe experienced, and they're rowing the rafts, which are the plastic boats, not the wooden boats. And then they're often allowed to bring like an assistant, someone to just a girlfriend, a boyfriend, someone that's interested in being a guide to help. And so the spots on the actual trip, the guest spots, were taken, but there was room for like an assistant or two. And I pushed for 3. So it was an existing commercial trip. Once you're down there, you're down there. It was 17 days. I mean, there is at day 7 or so at Phantom Ranch, you can hike out or hike in to do the second part of the trip. And there's sometimes an exchange of passengers that happen. But when they came to me, there were some pretty like already set parameters. So, which is good and also a challenge, but it's a challenge, so it was 17 days. The guides were already selected. Our main character, Sindel Dale, had already been kind of identified. It was a trip that was already happening.
Let's go into just some of the challenges shooting in the Grand Canyon. I mean, like on boats. I mean, like food, battery packs, like how do you stay charged? How do you prepare for that?
Yeah. So, not only was it told that we had 17 days in the Grand Canyon, don't interfere with a guest experience. We didn't like have our own machine boat or, going ahead boat or anything. But also no generators are allowed. And I knew I wanted to shoot this on a cinematic camera with, a cinema camera with cinematic lenses, not just like a DSLR small camera where you could solar recharge. So we weren't able to charge batteries. We calculated kind of estimated how much we would shoot a day, or like limit ourselves. It was kind of like shooting film. I mean, it was basically shooting film. Whoa. It was like, we're going to estimate like 4 hours of footage a day. This is how many batteries we're going to need. This is how many cards we're going to need. There was no downloading and reviewing footage. It was.
So you literally brought only the batteries that you thought you need for 17 days already charged.
Yeah, it was a utility case that we called the Beast, and it lived in the bottom of a raft, one of the baggage boats. And every day, we would take out X number of batteries that we wanted to use that day. Yeah.
Cool. So what were some of the challenges besides the logistics?
Plus then you have water, right? Like you're dealing with water. We're not, every day we would huddle up with the trip leader, Ashley Brown, who's in the film, and try and get get a sense of what the day is going to unfold as far as scenic stuff or rapids or how wet we're going to get. Like, what's the likelihood we're going to tip? What's the likelihood we could lose everything on the boat? And what we want to try and get ahead for. Are there any moments that we can like position ourselves? But that was a challenge because it was really just Verité, and again, not being able to interfere with the guest experience. So that said,
I
went into the shoot with a plan. I knew kind of the outline of the story that I wanted to tell, and I'd done all the pre-interviews. And I also went into each day with a bit of a plan of, these are the shots we need to focus on. This is the storyline I think is going to unfold. Let's focus on this. But it was all just kind of Verité. And just getting on people's boats with the customers there, that was tricky. And no drones are allowed in the Grand Canyon. So, those like epic scenic shots we didn't get.
You just got to huff it though, like up on a ledge or something. Or there's
That-
also some interesting shots from the shore.
Yeah, I
where-
noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah, like how did you plan that? Where you're just on the shore, but then boats are going by. I mean, is
Yeah,
that just you guys leapfrogging each other?
yeah, we would just like leapfrog sometimes. The DP that we brought on had gone down the river a few times and knew what was going to be potentially some of the more visual rapids. We chatted. That was part of like the daily meetings, the nightly meetings with the trip leader of what are we able to get out and shoot, and you can pick us up on the other side, or what's safe and you think you can get a good shot. I mean, the Grand Canyon, like all these rapids have been shot before, so people have a sense of where you can get good vantage points.
Yeah,
so that's just what we did. But as far as one of the bigger challenges, so I went in knowing, Sindel Dale is our main character, and I went in with the storyline of kind of the passing of the oars from one generation down to the next. And having done all the pre-interviews, I found that Mary Cruz, who is the youngest one on the rowing the baggage boat, would be a really good like secondary character, and this mentor-mentee relationship that was naturally forming, but that's really what I wanted to focus on. And she wound up getting medevaced out on day 6 or so.
Which is an incredible moment in the film.
Yeah. So another challenge of the film too, we can go back to that, but is what I didn't want was like, this is just a river trip. This is just like river porn. This is, here we are, day 1, day 2, day 5, day 7, day 17.
Gorgeous shots. Yeah.
Yeah. I really wanted there to be a story, but there was no also like, it wasn't around an event. There wasn't like something like epic that happened. It wasn't like the whole boat flipped or like leading up to this one rapid where are we going to make it? Or are we not? There wasn't that like peak pivotal dramatic moment. And so Mary leaving kind of was it, her getting medevaced out. It
was bad for her, but for a story, it was good.
Had it happened a little later on, it would have been better because it happened like 5 days in. So I really would have loved to develop that relationship a bit more between Sindel and Mary, but I kind of saw that coming.
Yeah.
She might get evac'd, and so I just really focused our camera on her a lot, and then the magic of editing, right? And not specifically not being like, this is day 1 of the trip, this is day 5.
Right.
Could extend her time there more. But she also didn't want to be filmed. She was really kind of embarrassed that she got medevaced out and did not want that to be part of the film at all.
Challenging. Yeah.
That took a bit of, filmmaking's trust building, right? So
totally.
A lot of trust, and showing her parts of the edit afterwards, letting her know, like, no, we want you to look like a hero. We want the audience to be at the end being like, oh man, I hope Mary comes back and I get to go down the river with her. Not as a sign of weakness, but as how hard people have to work.
Dana, what do you do to build trust?
I don't know. Do you trust me, Darren?
I trust you because you follow through with what you say you're going to do. But and I've known you for 10, 11 years or something like that. But when you're out there and, first of all, you gotta build trust, obviously, with the agency to do this and the people that are, giving you money. And then you got to get there and, the main character, Zindel, did you have contact with her before the trip? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, I got the names of all the guides before the trip and did pre-interviews with all of them. So that's a big one, right? And just trying, not just building a relationship and a trust, but also figuring out what the direction is of the story. So I did a lot of research. There was books. Now I'm going to blank on the name, but I read all the books beforehand and talk to not just the people on the trip, but the legacy guides from before to research, how are they fitting in and what are some stories. And I also wanted to have these pre-interview calls so that they knew I wasn't totally crazy. Like, so they felt trust in me that I'm not going to be a loose cannon. You don't want to take, to sign up for saying, okay, I'll be in front of a camera. And then to do it on a 17, 18-day river trip where, I didn't want to be the person that fucked up the river trip, I guess is like the not very great way of saying it.
You don't want to be responsible for. I mean, they have real clients that are going along with it, real people, and who are there not for your film, but for
I wanted
their
them
own
to know I
purpose.
could hang, like not just in filming, but in camping and
Yeah.
living this kind of a grueling lifestyle for this amount of days. For me, I thrive in those environments.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like I also thrive at nice hotels, but like I don't mind that roughing it. So
Well, we were talking about before this about, bringing your 10-week-old baby after, a C-section on one of your shoots, like in the wilderness.
Yeah.
You do thrive.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. So I just wanted them to know I had some history. I wanted to be a river guide too. I admired them and just have them, know that I wouldn't jeopardize their trip, them as guides. I wouldn't put them at risk. I wouldn't do something totally stupid to get a shot. I'll push things, but like if there's a hard no, I'm going to listen for like a safety reason. Listen. So I think, it's just establishing that relationship and that whether it's a friendship or not, but establishing that relationship. For Sindel, I chatted with her a bunch before going down on this trip. Then we went and spent 2 days at her house beforehand she was packing up to go. So that really kind of solidified more of a friendship.
I'm curious because, obviously with documentary, you can lay the roadmap and you can do the research and plan and figure out what's the story that you want to tell and all that stuff. But then so much happens, like we were just kind of talking about. I'm curious how much changed from production and then as you moved into the edit bay and it was time to put clips to timelines. Did the story change for you? Or did it stay virtually the same?
That's a great question. It stayed similar. I mean, Mary leaving was a big one. I thought she was going to be that secondary character, but I think in some ways it was helpful. It kind of opened it up to tell the stories of more of the people there, right? Like in how AB, one of the trip leaders, ultimately does hand the oars over to Caroline, who was rowing bags, and she's the one that's now rowing the Dory for the first time. So it just opened it up a little bit more. I think with documentaries and shorter films, and it's hard to have so many main characters, right? And so I went in thinking a little bit more narrow, that these are really my main character and then my secondary. And then it still stayed that way, but it opened it up a little bit more. The other thing that changed, I guess, was the older women, I just call them the legacy guides, how to weave their stories in. I knew I wanted to tell their stories. Honestly, like the history and their stories are I find to be some of the most interesting rather than just like the day-to-day of the river.
Like Georgie Clark, you mean?
Yeah, well, Georgie, we wove her story in totally. But the women at the very end. So it wound up being like 60 seconds or 2 minutes or so when the credits are going and you meet these are the Ellen Tibbetts, the one who, at 80 now, but she was the first woman to commercially row Dory down the Grand Canyon.
Wow.
So I knew I wanted them to be part of the film, but I never really figured out how to get them there. It just looked so different. It felt, it was shot in a warehouse. It felt so different. And so we put it in at the end, but
it felt really good to me because it just opened it up in the end and felt special. Yeah. And I love that too, when the credits are rolling, but you get a little more, when you're wanting more. So
that took a lot of work too. A challenge, just getting them, they didn't want to be on camera or didn't want to be interviewed alone. And so finally it took convincing of you just all do it together. It's a reunion. Let's do a reunion trip, like a reunion at the warehouse, and I'll film it. And so it turned into more of a, like a fireside chat, which was nice as opposed to these interviews.
Hey, how long was it in post-production?
That's a weighted question. A long time. So ultimately I wound up working with Greg Snyder, the editor.
Yeah.
Edited Song. And he's just amazing. And
he did Confluence too.
Yep. And this is, this kind of storytelling. He loves it. He's excellent at it. And we just worked so closely, hours and hours a day, writing and rewriting and sending stuff to him. I forget how long it actually took in post-production, but
when did you actually shoot? When were you in production?
Oh, now you're asking me dates and to remember things. It was April of 2024.
Okay. Yeah. So
And then it came out, we premiered at Wild and Scenic in 2025, which was in what? Almost a year later or so, like May.
yeah, that's not
Yeah.
for a
So
doc.
no,
Yeah.
nothing like crazy. There was no
Nothing
like
crazy.
Massive delay.
no.
All
It
right.
just, well, the biggest part was, I mean, luckily because we had only X amount of batteries and X amount of cards, luckily like, we could only shoot X amount, but there was still 21 days of dailies to go
Yeah, that's a lot.
and shot Verité, a lot of it.
Yeah.
So there was a lot to go through. And on top of that, so our camera could only roll for however many hours a day, but audio could roll for, I guess that was the other big challenge. Audio could go forever, right? They're just there on like a little 256 gigabyte card and they could like the whole thing. So they did. So oftentimes
It's just a lot of audio.
Awesome.
Jessie Merrick did the audio. She's amazing. But we just had a lot of audio, which influenced a lot of our editing. Some of the cuts, like the part when she crashes onto bedrock, she's telling the story.
Yeah, I love that part.
And story where she's crashing. It's actually like two stories that she told multiple, different times, put together, but we didn't have so many visuals of her telling the story. We had to like make these quick cuts, which wound up being great because it seems like she's telling the story to multiple people multiple times, which is what we do, right? They like sit around and whoever's on their boat, they tell the same story.
Sure.
I was kind of just enraptured in the story. I thought it was really good.
Thanks. It just led to different editing challenges. Mm-hmm.
I particularly love the whole. I mean, look, like as somebody who's I've been to the Grand Canyon. I've been lucky enough to hike down, but I've never traveled it by boat. And I didn't know that though they navigated the waters with boats like that. And I found the whole section about the craftsmanship behind them and stuff really interesting. Were there challenges because of the type of boat? Like, was it more rigid or anything like that that made it more challenging from a filmmaking perspective? I'm curious.
No, from a filmmaking perspective, not necessarily. No, I mean, except that if we bump something, you're more screwed.
Yeah.
You're more likely to tip, or it's just a more adventurous, spicy, as they would say.
A spicier boat.
But no, and honestly, for the first half of the trip, we were in the rubber rafts because those Dory wooden boats were full with passengers. It wasn't until after they did an exchange and they opened up some seats so we could go onto those Dory boats.
Wow!
And the second half is the more adventurous part. So if you're gonna go down in a boat, and you can only go down for a certain amount of times, a number of days, choose the second half. But yeah, I agree. The history, just these boats are just so beautiful and elegant, and I wasn't exactly sure how the story was going to evolve, except Sindel is, in doing my pre-calls with her, she's a guide. She kind of like puts on a little bit of a show, and she's strong and tough, and she's had to be, and she's a really tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
Like, she has like a hard exterior. And, but on one of our pre-calls, I forget what question it was that I asked her, but it was talking about like river levels and passing the oars, passing on this boat to this next generation, and how much her boat, the Tickaboo, means to her. And if the water levels get too low, there's just too many rocks, and it's going to ruin those little dories, those boats. And she just started to cry about the thought of her boat getting hurt and not being able to pass it on to the next generation.
Wow.
So we tried to, anyways, that's how that kind of
came
up with passing it on to the next generation.
The boats are almost like characters in the film.
Yeah, they are. Totally. There was a lot of layers to weave in to what was, to a short dish film, right? There's like the aspect of like women breaking into this male dominated world. There's the environmental aspect of the Colorado River. There's the legacy and the history of these boats. Then there's the river, like the story of going on a river trip itself. And then the history of the women, like the past women. So there's a lot to weave in. And I guess I thought of it like when you are on a river trip, you're going from point A to point B, and it's great, but it's those side canyons. Right?
Yeah, those, oh my God, that's beautiful.
those are the best. And so I just thought of each of those. You have this main river trip, and then each of those themes was a little bit of like a side canyon that you go up and you hike up.
Speaking of side canyons, one of my favorite moments is just this quiet moment with this woman playing guitar in one of the side canyons.
that was
just
nice,
like
yeah.
it reminded me of Confluence actually with
Yeah.
when we were shooting the band in the canyon. But that was beautiful. Was that I forget which character that was. Or was that just a person?
Andrea
Yeah.
Micus, who's, I mean, all these women are so incredible. That was like her 99th time going down the Grand Canyon. So, and she's she's humble, and she's like too cool to be on camera in a way. She was just like, I'll just play my guitar. Yeah, it's okay. It's kind of, I forget. Shoot, now I'm blanking on the name of what that canyon is, but it's a known canyon that people go up and often play music in. Really beautiful.
Dana, you started as a journalist, didn't you?
Yes, a photojournalist.
How does that background show up in your filmmaking and your, I mean, or even talking about your commercial? I mean, how does that show up in your life now? Do you lean on that like beginning as like a foundation for your approach or your storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, I got into photojournalism because of the visuals. I love visuals and like to make beautiful, interesting images, but also just a love of story and journalism and investigating things and meeting people and getting people to open up and trust you, like we were talking about before. And so, yeah, I think that's the root of all of my work. It's all kind of really grounded in storytelling and in empathy. And then you just get to add motion to it. And I always, when I would do photojournalism, I would always have an audio recorder. Darren, it's not just my eyes. You are out of focus.
No, I'm trying to get my camera to autofocus on me. It's like, I was trying not to interrupt you. I'm just trying to like get it to see
trick it
face.
Into finding your face.
Like it's focused. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I would always bring an audio recorder with me. And I started by doing those like multimedia slideshows, audio tracks that you would put together, like interviews and pictures. So that's how I started in video.
And then, so you transitioned from stills, to video and doing documentary work and all that stuff. And then I'm really curious about your commercial work because I don't know, we both, we direct commercials, but we've also done the documentary stuff. What kinds of, I guess, skills from documentary do you bring into, how do they overlap into, like, I mean, you're directing a Budweiser commercial and you have so much experience working with real people and I guess going with the flow, for lack of a better term. We're talking about the Grand Canyon. And how does that show up on big commercial sets?
The Budweiser was my first commercial I ever did. And it was still real people. But I remember winning, having to do a pitch and a treatment and like winning this job and being like, okay, I'm going to go it was 3 father, stepdad, child relationships, right? That we were featuring. And I was like, all right, I'll go spend like a couple days or a week, like with this family in Florida. Then I'll go spend like a couple days with this family. And then I'll go spend a couple days with this family. And they're like, no, you need to shoot this in 2 days in LA. Oh, okay. We had to really like condense. And I think that's where photography helps too, right? Like you're looking for that decisive moment. What is that? When do you click that shutter?
Yeah.
In that frame, like when the person's leaping, like right, what is that peak moment, that peak storytelling action? And so I think photography has helped me learn that and to like predict when those moments are and where you're going to find them and how to lean into them. But yeah, I think, what was your question? Like,
was that challenging to do, to like, you're used to these kind of small crews, you're just kind of shooting what happens. I know for us, I had a hard time blocking. Like, I don't tell people what to do. They live their life and then I capture it.
That's probably I'm actually taking a Sundance collaborators course in February of like how to work with talent.
Yeah.
Like really, because sometimes I'm just like watching it unfold And I
Yeah.
remember with the Budweiser one, the producer was more experienced than I was. Of course, and she would be like, okay, let's like make it happen. Like make them ask the question. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, right. We can't just like sit here shooting, waiting for them to catch a fish. Like we need to make this happen.
We say what happens. Yeah.
So, and then my second commercial job, which was like the real, not real people, was for UPS. And that was, I knew I had like 12 seconds. That was like, you have to, or 15 seconds plus like a little bumper, so I have 12 seconds to tell the story. And so what are those, was it 4 shots that are going to really tell the story? And so kind of thinking about it in stills, like, when I was a still photographer, you'd sign up for competitions, and you had to like take your whole story and condense it to like 10 shots. How do you tell the story in 10 shots? So I think that helped. But I showed up, so I came in super prepared. I had like the huge binder, and I had so many deliverables for that. It was a big commercial shoot, multiple days. And, but I showed up, I had no idea what an AD was. I had no idea what a scripty was. It was like a 60-person crew. Here I showed up, and all of a sudden I see all the big trucks and I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, whoa, what is that? I'm like, who are you? I was like, I'm the director. Who are all these people? I had no idea. I was still trying to like fluff a pillow. Or
Yeah.
like, you don't touch that pillow. That's not your job. So yeah, so that it's been an adjustment, but I really love working. I love both. Like it's really awesome to not have to wait for sun. You can just like create sunshine.
Make sun happen.
And it's really awesome to work with such a bigger team of everyone being so talented, and you're just trying to like wrangle and learn and bring all those talents together to communicate the vision. But then I love the scrappy, small crew where I'm hanging curtains as well. Just like doing a bit of everything.
You're dressing the set. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, I have a question. So like with, I think people want to know like, okay, if you're a photojournalist or you're doing little docs or corporate work and you want to be a director, like how do you actually get your name in the hat to direct those things?
Oh man, Darren, I don't know. I remember asking, when I worked at the Oregonian, Rob Finch was there. And I stayed in touch with him over the years, and he's edited some of my stuff. And, but I remember calling him, and cause I was just doing these tiny little independent, I'm the shooter, the producer, the director, the writer, the editor films. And he's like, just put your head down and do good work. But I was like, that's not the answer I want. Like, what's the path? So I don't really know,
Well, but like, does it have to do with Step Studios?
Yeah. So for me, my path, I can't say there's like a path to take.
Yeah.
Me, I just put my head down, was doing good work. And one of the films that I shot in that manner, it's called Noah. It's on my website.
Yeah. I love that.
Films. Yeah. I don't know. What do we have? Like $12,000 to shoot that film or something. And I got invited in Boulder at Zeal Sunglasses. You know Zeal Sunglasses? They make they make a plant-based sunglasses. They had a women in filmmaking night, like at their store, and they asked me to be one of the presenters. And so I went in thinking, I didn't even know this place existed. No one's going to show up. I went to the back room, like drank a bunch of wine, thinking like, whatever. And I came back out, and it was packed with people. It was like packed with all these people curious to hear. And the film that I showed was my Noah work, and I talked about it. And in the audience was Lindsay Hagen, who was at that time an EP and for Step Studios, when Step was still just like young and young and hungry and just kind of starting up. And so she introduced me to the guys at Stepped. And then she brought me onto a project that was in Ecuador, climbing mountains in Ecuador. And that again was like a 3-person team. Myself, she was the producer, Chris Nam was the DP. They're now married. They met on that trip. And it was, an expedition in Ecuador, and that went really well. And so then Steph bid me out for the Budweiser job.
Wow.
And then they said, "Do you want to sign?" And I was like, "Well, that sounds sketchy. Like, what is this even about?" And then I got the UPS job, and that's when I showed up and had no idea what all these roles were. I think most people on sets like that grow up on set. Like,
Oh yeah.
you know, they live it and they breathe it, and maybe it's to my advantage, but it was definitely like shock.
I remember, so Dave and I got bid on a job with Whiskey Tango, was his production company, and they saw one of our films, asked us to, hey, you guys want to be on our roster or whatever. We're like, sure, this is a scam, but whatever. And then we ended up bidding on this huge job, and we ended up filming this, I don't know, $500,000 commercial in Vancouver for this company. And I remember we had like 30 extras and this whole place that was built for us. And I remember like turning to Dave and being like, Dave, I don't know what to do next. I don't know what to do. Like
here or like,
huh?
You mean like, I don't know what to do next in my career? This is the pinnacle? Or?
No. Like
in that
I didn't
moment.
know what the order of calling action was. Like I didn't know what to do with the extras. Like I was like, you know, we shot docs. We've been journalism, and this was, I mean, this was probably 8 years ago now. And now it's like, whatever, just like, let me move you here and like, hey, shoot this, you know, but it was terrifying.
No, I had that same experience with UPS. I didn't know it was I came in so prepared. I knew what all the shots were. I knew what all the camera moves were. I picked great locations, amazing wardrobe, that stuff. But like how to work with the talent, I didn't know that was necessarily for me to do even. Like I didn't.
You're like, am I allowed to direct them?
Yeah. I figured out the blocking, but it was very much trial by error.
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, just jumping in that pool is the best way to learn. I mean, you said it the best, right? Like you're not going to plan your way into, you know, figuring it out. I think you can do a certain amount of it, but eventually you just got to do it. And you find yourself on a big enough set and all of a sudden you're like,
I do wish even now, like just to shadow other directors.
We never get to see other directors work.
You have to rely on your own like instincts, and I think I've like developed my own style enough, and I've had enough people applaud me for, you know, say like actors too, being like, after that UPS one, some of the actors who are really pretty well known actors now were like, you're such an amazing director, and I was like, really, what I do? Like,
what was it?
What was so good? Like how did I talk to you in a way that helped?
You make people feel at ease, which is, you know, just like in documentary, you want to create the same atmosphere on a commercial set.
But you also want to like really be clear with your vision. Also, I mean, time is money. You know, unlike documentary, it's like you gotta get those takes. So.
Time is money on documentary too. It's just a very small amount of money.
When you're waiting around for something to happen.
When you have like 12 clients watching and you need to make your 12-hour day, you know.
You have to. Yeah. There's no backing out.
It's super stressful. So
you know, real quick, because I know you got to go. One advantage I feel like we have, as you know, we've told stories like, if you're a narrative filmmaker or like a commercial director who that's all you've done, you get very few opportunities to be actually on set, right? Like it just takes a lot of work. But as photojournalists, documentary filmmakers, we get tons of reps. Like, and I'm curious to know if like that background, do you feel like, did you learn the blocking kind of pretty quickly? Because I mean, you've seen people move in reality and film them and shot them so many times.
Yeah.
So did you feel like it was like the learning curve was kind of easy for you, like after the initial shock wore off?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm still learning the blocking a little bit too, but I think I'm really good at figuring out where I want our camera, our hero angle to be. Like what's the most visual, where are there windows behind us to let in light? Like how can we make a really interesting visual, and then knowing you don't want people's backs to camera, and how people can kind of what makes an interesting. I've always taken photographs that are really layered, right? Like
right, that's blocking.
Yeah, and so I think we've always kind of instinctually done it. It's just thinking, if this were a still image, where would I want people? How would I want people to be placed? And then how do you want people to cross through it?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think you got to run. So you can watch About Damn Time on. We'll put a link in the show notes. It's on Vimeo. It's on YouTube. Make sure you guys can watch it. And thank you for being on Get in the Van, Dana. But now you got to get out of the van.
Yeah, thanks
guys. This was fun. Thank you. The About Damn Time that's on my website is the director's cut, and that's the one that's going to be on PBS. But
when is it going to be on PBS?
It'll be on Rocky Mountain PBS January 29th at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and then hopefully it gets picked up by the broader PBS. But it's also on my website, and that's one. There's some potty humor in that one, so
yeah,
I like that one best.
That's like vintage Dana.
Yeah, we didn't go there, but yeah, always for some potty humor. Cool.
Awesome.
Well, thank you guys.
Thanks, Dana.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dana.
Uh-oh, what was that? I don't know, but let's get out of here.